All right, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of Teach Me Tuesday. This is the first two-person episode. I myself, Ursinity, am here with Teachling Beedub. Hello, Beedub.
Hello.
And I'm excited. We've done 3 people for all the previous episodes, both my episodes and Prad's episodes. So it's gonna be interesting to get into like a really deep discussion, one-on-one, and hopefully deep and productive discussion. In this way.
It should be good.
Before we get into the actual questions and all that, how's your last week or so in Dota been, B-Dub? Any big
It's been okay. I feel like the last games I've been playing, I've all been drunk for them because I had guests here. And so it's always been like, we've come back from town and everyone's kind of gone to bed and I've had like a couple of glasses of wine and I'm like, yeah, I want to play some Dota. Yeah, really hyped. And then it's always gone really bad. But yeah, so that hasn't been so good. Actually, I think I pinged you when I was like playing and I was like, oh, Ursi would be so disappointed. I'm like playing drunk because someone asked me if it was part of my homework, which it is not. But it was still fun at the time, even though they were terrible.
Yeah,
but
it's usually fun at the time. The issue, because I've done that quite a few times, but I usually talk myself out of it because it's always fun for like the first 5 minutes. And then it's not fun because you're like, man, I'm still committed for the next 30 minutes. Like,
yeah, you just want it to end at that point. You're just like, it started to go downhill and you're like, can I really do this for another half an hour? I don't know. But,
yeah, it's a dangerous game and it requires so much concentration. There's a lot of weird, it's a weird meta game to drunk Dota. Like I found that I cannot get drunk if I'm trying to get drunk while playing Dota because it requires way too much concentration. And like, I feel like I burned through all of the alcohol just through like focus. Whereas, and then like if you're already drunk, but then you start games of Dota, you're like losing it halfway through, and you're like, man, I don't want to be here. Like, so yeah, that's a struggle. I will definitely not condone that as far as teaching as a teaching moment, but I think we've all been there. Yeah. Other than that, like anything big? I mean, obviously we're going to be talking a bit about Safe Lane Carry this week, but as far as your like general Dota experience has been, any real standouts?
Well, I mean, aside actually from I just played a PA game a couple of hours ago, and that went really badly. Partly because I don't know, the lane was just terrible, but I was just with like a load of
part of this game. Actually.
Oh, really?
You have 3 ACs on your team, so that's not surprising that this game went badly.
It was just, yeah. Actually, by the end we had 4.
Oh yeah, you do have 4 actually.
Everyone
the Slaughter
had
also
one.
Has them.
And our
you
Monkey King left.
King.
Yeah, but it was just. So we had I think Monkey King picked first, maybe. We had a Slardar pick second. I picked third. And then we also had a Bristle and then a Tiny pick, which was bizarre, I guess. I don't know what the thought was there. I mean, you can kind of... Tiny can kind of support, I guess. I don't know. Like, I will say... I don't see him a lot, really, at the moment. He seems to be kind of like...
Yeah, he sucks.
On the back burner.
He's a bad hero right now, honestly. I tuned into this game randomly just because it was like a few hours ago. I was like, we were getting ready to record. So I was like, I want to see what B-Dub's doing because I was in queue for a game. So I watched a couple minutes and I tuned in at like 45 minutes or something. And I was just like, how do they possibly lane this team comp? Your team is PA, Monkey King, Tiny, Bristleback, Slardar. And when I tuned in, it was late game. So I was like, everybody has a ton of net worth. Everybody has carry items.
It was very strange.
It was just bizarre.
Yeah, I upgraded Courier, I think, at like 20 minutes, 25 minutes or something, just because I was like, this is ridiculous. And like, we did really... I think our Tiny bought a couple of wars,
2149,
nice.
That's when you upgrade the Courier.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, just madness. It was just a very bizarre game. I think it was me and the Tiny in lane. Oh, no, it was me and Bristle in lane, which is...
Yeah.
Interesting. And then it was a Slardar Tiny off lane and a Monkey King mid against a Warlock, Invoker, Axe, Nature's Prophet, and Troll. Which is kind of a decent team, right?
Yeah, it's decent. Like, if you switch the Nature's Prophet out for, like, an actual 4, that would be a lot better.
Yeah.
But in general, I mean, their team comp is definitely a lot better than yours, I'll say that.
Yeah. I mean...
All right. Yeah.
It was bad. But let's move on from that.
Yeah. So we tried something different for today's episode. We had Beedub watch one of my most recent carry games where I played Troll Warlord, and what our concept for today is going to be is Beedub's going to be asking me questions about my game and why I've done things, because you brought up in our like pre-recording meeting, you brought up a really interesting point where sometimes you don't even know what like you should be asking questions about. I don't know, maybe you can rephrase that, because it was a good point.
Yeah, like sometimes I don't know what the right questions are to ask. Like I know that there's like things I need to know, but because I don't know what they are yet, I don't know how to ask it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a really weird
sense.
way of describing it, but hopefully you get my point.
Yeah, it's like you don't even know where to start, or it's like God. Yeah, I mean, you explained it better. It's just hard to word, I suppose. But yeah, so I'm excited for this. I mean, you said after watching how much of the game did you watch? It was a short game. It was only like 32 minutes because we kind of steamrolled them after a certain point. But
yeah, it was up to about 13 to 15 minutes. I think I watched up until. Okay,
cool. Yeah, because like we've been talking about in the last few weeks on both my episodes and Proud's episodes, it's been a lot of laning phase focused stuff, both when we're talking about off lane and when we're talking about carry, when we're talking about anything. So, because laning phase has the most little details, little bits and bobs to it that is really hard to harness and really get down.
Yeah.
So, do you want to just get right into it?
Sure.
Also, the laning phase basically was myself as Troll versus a Weaver, and the supports were Witch Doctor and Skywrath Mage, and they were roaming a bit. They were not always in my lane. They were in my lane sometimes. The Weaver wasn't even in the lane for like the first couple minutes. He was like jungling or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's just get right into it. What's your first question?
So I guess actually it's more of like a general Troll question. I've played him a couple of times, but I'm never really sure when he's actually good to pick. Like, what is he good against, and when is the time not to pick him?
So I picked Troll in this game specifically because the enemy team picked picked Bloodseeker, and I really don't like playing Luna. And one of the things Proud always talks about is when the enemy team has a Bloodseeker, Luna is great because you can just man fight or woman and panther fight the Bloodseeker when he tries to get on top of you, right?
Yeah.
Bloodseeker, just his mechanic as far as locking down and fighting carries is by rupturing you and then using Blood Right and then forcing you to either take the damage from walking with Rupture or eat the silence and the Blood Right damage. So on Troll, I picked this hero because if Bloodseeker does that to me, I can just stand there and fight him when he tries to kill me. Whereas if I was playing like an anti-mage, I would want to try to escape or whatever. Also, recently I've just liked Troll a lot. I find him I just find him as a fun hero personally, but he also has like the flash farming capability because now I've been doing the Phase, Aki, Mask of Madness, Sage and Yasha BKB build, and the Mask of Madness plus your ult allows you to just flash farm like crazy, allows you to push really well. In this game, also, I wanted to have a BKB because they had both a Jakiro and a Zeus. The game ended before I really needed to make a terrible amount of use from my BKB. But all in all, I just thought it was a pretty solid game for Troll. In general, I pick Troll when I know I'm going to have to just like one-on-one fight the enemy core. Whereas, like, I'm not going to try to split push. I'm not going to try to, team fight them. I'm just basically going to be punching the other guy to death, and he's going to be punching me to death, and one of us is going to come out ahead, hopefully. And hopefully it'll be me.
Yeah.
So that's like one of my primary reasons to pick Troll. One of the other big things is that my team works well with Troll. Troll ult obviously is very good for Troll, but since it's global, you want to synergize it with heroes like on this team. I had an LC on my team, so if I'm watching carefully, it was a solo queue game, so there's it's not like real communication. But if I notice that LC is going to go into a fight, I can just ult preemptively or ult during the duel and then have her be dishing out all that extra damage right through the attack speed. Same thing with the Dragon Knight, right? If he is trying to do a tempo push at he's just hit level 7, he has a double damage rune or an arcane rune or something, he's going to try to push mid, I can ult and help him secure that mid tower. So the troll pick also works really well with a team, right? We used to see Proud and I, and I mean tons of people used to play a lot of troll tiny because tiny just works really well with the troll ult. So that's something to look into. And it's not necessarily a requirement, but it is definitely an advantage, right? Like you'd much prefer to play like troll with an OD mid rather than troll plus Zeus, right? Because the Zeus is not going to benefit at all from your ult.
Yeah.
Similarly, like even playing troll with like, I don't know, like I wouldn't necessarily want to play troll with maybe like a PA, because PA already has that attack speed steroid through Blink Strike, so it's kind of redundant. But even then, it's still incredibly good. So yeah, you want other right clickers on your team basically when you're going to pick troll.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. So who's he bad to go against though? Like when would you like what counters him? Does anything really counter him? I don't know.
He's pretty generally decent. I'm trying to think. I'm sure there's something that does counter him. One of the things I look out for is Troll wants to fight in extended length fights, whereas other heroes want to burst somebody real quick, right? So if you're playing Troll and you're against like, let's see, who's somebody that wants to have an extended fight, like a Necrophos. Necrophos, you're not going to burst down realistically because he's just going to hit W, and yeah, you have your defusal at a certain point if you go for that build, which a lot of people do. But in general, you want to be picking him, picking him against cores that are very melee focused, that you're going to give the mischance to, that don't build MKBs, like Sven, right? Troll versus Sven, you could just get overpowered by him completely if he like farms a bunch of stacks and you're not flash farming. But if you're keeping up with farm and he tries to fight into you, but you've given him mischance, suddenly, you know, he's not going to build an MKB. And if he does, he's going to build like 5th item because he has so many other mandatory items. You also don't want to be picking Troll if they have BKB piercing lockdown. Troll really relies on BKB in the mid game, and even it's in some extent in the late game, because he is kind of a mobile carry that has a lot of move speed, and you're trying to chase people down and then sunlock them. So if you're against, you know, a Bat Rider, you're going to have a bad time because you're going to pop your BKB and be trying to jam on somebody, and then the Bat Rider is just going to lasso you. Or, you know, the Axe is gonna battle cry you, or like I'm just looking at his worst versus heroes, like Winter Wyvern's gonna ult you. Winter Wyvern has a BKB piercing slow. Like Venomancer are also going to slow you, stuff like this, where you're just going to run into issues. He also struggles a little bit against multiple targets, but like if you're a PL, for instance, but you can actually fit a a Battle Fury or a Mjolnir into your build. You just kind of don't want to.
Yeah.
But so that's not really like a worst case scenario thing, but it does kind of suck to play against, since he is pretty melee or single target focused.
Okay. How does, because actually sometimes I'll see him troll in the off lane as well. Is that something that's good?
No.
Or is that just something that, you know, I'm playing at kind of trash tier level and people just take him anywhere?
Yeah, I mean, like, people play troll mid is probably a better example of something that is suboptimal, but like people still do. Troll off lane, I would say, is definitely uncommon and should not be a thing. Okay. But in a pinch, like, if they're running a really weak safe lane, you can kind of get away with it. But in general, I would never go into a game thinking I'm going to play troll off lane. But if I did like first pick troll and then my team picks like, I don't know, PA and an OD and like a jungler, like a life stealer and some other nonsense, it's like, okay, he's not absolutely unplayable from the off lane. But it's definitely not something I would ever go into a game saying, "Oh man, I'd really like to play him in the off lane."
Okay.
So that's that. He doesn't have tremendous stats at level 1 health wise. I want to make sure before I say something that's completely wrong. He just doesn't. One of the other big things, and whenever people talk about off lane, like, "Oh, should I play CM off lane? Should I play whatever off lane?" One of the big things, actually, his level 1 stats are pretty good. He has 600 health before Berserker's Rage. And he has like 8 armor with Berserker's Rage up, which is pretty nice. One of the big things about running non-offlaners in the off lane, or non-mids in the mid lane, non-supports in the support not lane, but or non-carries in the carry lane, is that in general, a team is expecting a certain role to fulfill a certain, just have certain things, right? So offlaners in general, the preferred offlaners, I should say, are going to supply either team fight or blink stun. They're usually going to be tanky. They're going to provide some heft to the team. So if you're picking an offlaner like a troll, he's not doing any of those things, right? Which means that you're going to have to get those things out of another position that is not commonly doing those things, right? That means you're going to have a 4 that has team fight, like an Enigma, or a 4 that has blink stun, or a 5 that's going to blink stun, which is not common. And it puts you in a really awkward situation team comp-wise that will just create, manifold problems for the rest of the game.
Okay.
So that's why I would not play troll offlane unless you're really in a pinch. Because, some games are just weird.
Yeah.
Some games you just have to do, weird things.
Strange
and that's just how life works.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I would try to avoid it. I would definitely not call him a good offlaner.
Okay. So to the game I just watched, about, lane, where the creeps were meeting, I would say, your supports, they did pull at the beginning. They did pull the wave, but then they kind of just, were off and roaming. And it was kind of by the... I noticed it was, more or less often at the kind of... the stairs, the river, by the stairs, near the Dire Tower. And I was wondering, was it kept there on purpose? Was that something that you're doing purposefully, or was that just kind of because your supports went there? It was just there. Yeah.
It was just I would not do that purposefully.
Okay.
So ideal equilibrium when you're playing Radiant is, because I was playing Radiant in this game, if you're playing the Radiant safe lane, you want to keep creeps not under your tower, but you want to have the security of your tower readily available to you. And you want the enemy team offlaner to be extending as far as possible, right?
Yeah.
That way you can have rotations and kill potential. So ideal creep equilibrium for Radiant safe lane is generally to have it, let's see how to visualize this, right before the bottom entry to the secret shop.
Okay.
Right around the tree entrance to the secret shop that's kind of hidden away.
Yeah.
Right around there is ideal equilibrium. The only difference, I would say, is that if you're really efficiently farming a lane, and you have to have the right, you have to have the right hero and the right situation to do this, comp-wise, is you can actually push out your lane creep-wise, equilibrium-wise, and then pull yourself as the carry and double up on your farm, which is something that you'll see people do.
That's actually going to be my next question.
I don't think I did in this game.
No.
Yeah, I should have done it in this game. That was one of the mistakes. Was my supports really messed up pulling, just as a general statement.
Yeah.
They were not pulling well, and then at a certain point they just left me completely alone.
Yeah, they did it
and I should have been pulling myself.
Okay, yeah, because they did it maybe, I think, once, maybe twice at the start, and then they just kind of left and was just like, see ya, and you were just kind of left just last hit.
I want to say one was a single pull also. It was just and I'm pulling into the game. It was just very awkward, right? I could not have ideal equilibrium, and nor could I be pushing out and still farming jungle, right? I was not getting jungle on top of lane farm. I was only getting lane farm. And I was getting as much as I could out of the lane, which was basically everything. But I was not playing perfectly optimally like I wished I would have. So that was definitely a mistake.
In hindsight, you would have kind of pushed it, then pulled, you would have stacked and then done a stack pull?
No, I wouldn't have. I would have been pulling a 53, which naturally stacks, right?
Yeah.
If you're playing safe lane carry, you can't pull the small camp realistically, but you can pretty easily pull the hard camps, right?
Yeah.
Because the distance from lane to hard camp is much less than the distance from lane to small camp, right? So you can, in a pinch, if you time it right, feasibly be pushing the lane out. Let's say your creep equilibrium is in that optimal place, and then you take a creep wave, you push it out, you take that next creep wave, and then as it's dying, maybe you miss one creep, then you pull at 53 and get the hard camp to stack itself and to pull your lane creeps. Then you as the carry kill both those camps, or both those sets of creeps.
Yeah.
then you've now added to your farm. Unfortunately, with all the nerfs to jungle creeps, this is less mandatory and less beneficial.
Okay.
But if you like, there's a AUI made a really good video where he was just talking about optimal lane farming as a safe lane carry. And he was playing Morphling, and basically what he would do is he would push out the lane, then stack and pull, stack and pull, stack and pull, and then at like 6 minutes or whatever, he took like a 4 stack of hard camp creeps and made like 800 gold, or like 600 gold or whatever, on top of still efficiently farming the lane. And then at 10 minutes, he had like 108 CS or something.
Wow,
that's
amazing.
You can do that still. It's just you gain less from it.
Yeah.
And I would say every game I've had more than 100 CS at 10 minutes has been a Naga game, usually.
Okay.
Because on Naga, I'm naturally farming small camps constantly with illusions. So obviously I'm not at an AUI level. But that is something to keep conscious of, is if you are playing safe lane carry and let's say you're like me and you accidentally mess up your equilibrium and it goes far, or... like in this game, I was fighting the Weaver, and that's what really pinched my equilibrium and put me into bad positions. What you want to do is you say, all right, I messed this up. How do I get something good out of this messed up lane? And what you do is you say, all right, I am already pushed up this much. It's 1 minute and 8 seconds. 13 seconds from now, I'm going to be pulling my hard camp into lane, catch a creep wave, and then the Weaver is going to get 2 range creeps and 2 melee creeps worth of XP. But realistically, he's like level 2, let's say, or he's level 1 because it's 1 minute. He's not going to get the farm off of that because he only does, what is Weaver's base damage? He only does 59 damage because he has a circlet and 2 branches. Realistically, let's say we're feeding him, 180 XP, something like that. And such is life. But then you are being able to reset your equilibrium, and you are also gaining these jungle creeps. So that's something to think about, even if you're not intentionally doing it by like saying, oh, I'm going to push and then I'm going to pull. You just pull to reset things and put you in a better position if you've already kind of messed things up yourself, like I did.
Okay. Yeah, this definitely sounds like something I'll need to go into, just like you load up a bot match and just practice, just getting the timings down and stuff.
It's one of those things that definitely, if you play a lot of support, comes more naturally to you as a carry because you already know, like, all right, I need to pull this at 53, or I need to, like, I used to do it by timings. Now I just eyeball it. I say, all right, I'm going to pull right when they get into the, when you hit alt and it shows you the attack range of a tower. Mm-hmm. If I usually try to do it like right when my creeps get into the attack range of a tower, I will pull. That way, I usually connect the pull on Radiant at least to. I think it works on Dire too. I'm not sure if I do that on Dire as well, honestly. I just kind of know where it is, like on Minimap and all that. Whereas if you never play support, that might not be something that you think about too much. But obviously, that's not a difficult thing to learn. So one of those things that is just hard to like make second nature, right? That's the key to Dota, just in general. Is Dota's a hard game and there's a lot of hard concepts, so you want to internalize those concepts as best you can and make them second nature to you. So that's what's the difficult side of it. Yeah,
I think that would like definitely be very useful as well, because quite a lot of the games I seem to have played since taking up to the kind of carry position, I will have supports that just aren't there and
they
just kind of like wander off, or they just don't exist. Or I have a jungler, right? And
or you have a bristleback like in your last
game. Yeah, so that definitely would be super useful. Okay. Yeah, did you have anything else to add to that, or?
I mean, is there any question that regarding that I didn't answer? I mean, basically, like, as much as I rambled about it for a few minutes, I would say, just to kind of boil that all down to a few key points, is that optimal farm out of a lane, if you have the ability to get optimal farm, is both lane and jungle. So you want to, in an ideal situation, be focusing on getting your timings right to say, all right, I'm going to push out lane and then pull creeps. Similarly, if you mess up your lane, you can kind of make the best out of a bad situation by pulling the lane yourself as a carry, and it optimizes your farm. it is dangerous to do this against aggro duo lanes, especially. That's why usually when you have supports in your lane and the enemy team's aggro doing, you don't pull often at all because it's very easy for them to invade. And it is kind of giving up. Like, you're just accepting that the enemy offlaner is going to get a bunch of creeps under their tower. But, such is life, right?
Yeah. Okay. So I noticed you were, like, chopping down trees with your quelling blade.
Yes.
I had no idea why. I was just kind of like, oh, I was just wondering, well, like, is this just like a habit thing, or was there actually a reason for it? It just looks so random to me, and I could not figure out why.
So it's kind of a habit I did build up at a certain point. There is some logic to it, I will say, but it is also something I just do kind of compulsively, as I don't even know how to word it. Like, the part of the logic against Weaver specifically is that if I'm cutting down trees on my right, it doesn't cost me anything, right? Like, it's not like I'm doing anything. It's like I'm losing anything by cutting down trees with my quelling blade. And Weaver, if we watch this game, Weaver was kiting me around these trees often. So if I was cutting down trees, that's just a little less area for the Weaver to kite me, especially when I have a sentry ward.
Yeah.
Also, you can kind of cut paths through trees that make you walk. It saves you 1/10 of a second, which is nice when you're going on the side chop and stuff like that.
Okay.
That being said, I built up the habit just because I saw some really high MMR. I don't even remember who I was watching at the time. But when I was first learning to play carry, back when for some reason I had to play carry for an 80-12 team or something, I was watching some 7K carry players, and the guy was like, yeah, I just cut down trees constantly. That way, if the enemy team tries to gank me, I know, because it's I just have that much extra vision. So that's kind of, I learned that years ago, and I still very much, I just do it, honestly. Just compulsively, I'm like, all right, I should just cut down trees. I usually try to cut down trees where my supports would not gank from. So in watching this game, I am, I'm at 5 minutes and 40 seconds here, and I've just been cutting down trees, both when I'm using my tangos and also just using my quell, that are between me and the secret shop. Right. Yeah. And my supports are never going to gank from my own secret shop. Right. If they gank, they're going to be coming from the west. Right. They're going to be coming through. Man, I just completely fed a catapult to the Weaver. I'm going to be basically just giving my. I don't want to neglect. I don't want to take space away from my supports and take away their ability to gank. But by cutting down trees on the other side, I'm cutting down the area Weaver can kite me through, but I'm not hurting my supports in any way. I'm at 6 minutes 23 seconds here, and I just fought the Weaver, and he fought me through a bunch of trees. Right, I was standing in the lane, and he was in a spot that normally would have trees, but I'd already cut all the trees down, so I had perfect vision of the Weaver anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, basically, it's it may have a negligible effect in most games, but every once in a while, it really does help. And it's just kind of, I get really bored. I just like hitting buttons. And sometimes when I'm just safe lane farming, it's like, I want to throw out a couple of hits. I want to throw out a quelling blade.
Because I felt like a couple of them, I was kind of like, oh, okay, I can see why. Then there were some which were just like, I don't have any idea what that was for.
Yeah, it really is just one of those weird
I guess
old
habits. It could always be useful, right? Unless
specifically, sometimes I try to focus way more on it. So if I'm playing against a Monkey King or against a Wind Runner, especially Wind Ranger, or even Timbersaw to some extent, I will try to cut down trees that are in choke points that I need to be worried about. Yeah. Right. So if I'm playing against a Timbersaw, and let's say I'm playing a Radiant Safe Lane Troll against a Timbersaw, if he's pushing me really far and I cut down all the trees that are directly above the tier 1 tower, that's going to mean that he can't do his pure damage whirling blade and get the extra damage on me, right? Because if I keep the equilibrium around those things, he can't possibly do the extra damage to me with those trees. So that's where it has a really direct positive. Or Wind Ranger, she can't shackle me if the trees aren't there anymore, right? Or a Monkey King can't jump on me if I've cut down all those trees.
Yeah.
So that's when it's actually like literally useful. In general, though, it's just like a nervous habit that I'm just like, yeah, I should cut down trees because it helps for vision. Like it just provides more vision, especially like in daytime.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I've had a couple of really irritating games where I've been playing a Treant, and just someone's just chopped down all the trees, and I can't go and visit. Yeah. And I'm like, well, what's the point of me being here now? Like, there's no point. Yeah.
It's one of those weird things that like you don't think about, but then somebody does it, and you're like, man, I can't gank this person because I have no tree coverage to surprise them, and they're playing a quap, so they just blink away the second they see me, and like stuff like that. Especially like trolls specifically, right? One of the best ways to counter a troll is just to kite him, similar to, countering a Sven or whatever. If they can kite me through trees, that's hard. But if the trees aren't there anymore, they can't kite me through them. So I'm going to have a much easier time killing these heroes. Right? Because getting kited through trees is like the most miserable feeling in all of Dota. I think I would say that as a blanket statement. Nothing is less fun. Maybe getting bashed to death is less fun. But in general, nothing is less fun than being like, man, I could kill this support, but he's just kited me through the trees, and now I can't.
Yeah. Actually, that was actually something that I noticed with the Weaver. Like, so you bought sentries instead of dust, and like there was a couple of times where I think I probably would have instinctively just gone, oh, I'm just going to buy dust because this is just so irritating. Like, I guess it's not worth it to buy dust for. Because it's expensive, right? So, and if you bet it up once, then like you've kind of wasted like a load of money. So like there was a couple of times where the sentry was down, but like he was just kind of going in and out of trees, and like you couldn't quite get that last little bit of damage off on him, even though he was like almost dead, just because he was going in and out of vision and stuff.
So the reason why I wasn't buying dust was mostly because. I thought I didn't feel like I had a lot of kill potential on my own because my supports were not in lane that frequently, right? Like I'm at 7 minutes and my supports are fighting in mid lane. They were frequently fighting in top lane. They were not fighting in my lane a lot, and when they were, we had a Skywrath to silence, right? So if my supports are there, I have kill potential, right? That's like the first part of the proof. If my supports are there, he cannot invis away, right? Which means the sentry to start off a gank is more necessary. And the big thing about sentries that I was taking advantage of in this game, and the reason why I preferred the sentry, was because the sentries allowed me to say, all right, I have a sentry exactly at this spot. I can keep my creep equilibrium on that spot, even though that spot will give Weaver a bit more farm and XP and all that. I am allowed the ability, or I'm afforded the ability to harass this Weaver consistently because he's going to be under my sentry, right? And I way out damage this Weaver. So in that situation, I was able to consistently put out damage on a Weaver, and then every minute or two when my supports came by, then suddenly we had kill potential and could kill this person.
Yeah.
So it was more about a long-term advantage against the Weaver, who I did not have a ton of kill potential against alone. But I did have good kill potential from when other heroes came. Yeah. And when they did come, it didn't matter whether or not I had dust because he was going to be silenced anyway.
Mm-hmm. And I guess like really, it's not necessarily your job to carry it that early. Like if anyone's going to carry it, it should be the support, right?
Oh, not necessarily. No. I think that's a stereotype that is. Some people would subscribe to that and say, "Oh, why don't my supports have dust?" But in reality, your cores are the ones that are going to be dealing out the damage, right? They can have dust just as well as any support, I would say. So I wouldn't necessarily say that the supports need to have the dust. Similarly, a carry can buy dust a lot more easily, like just through virtue of having money. Whereas in the early game, I had a Skywrath and I want him to have mana boots. Yeah. So him spending 180 gold to maybe or maybe not get a kill. I don't know if I would rely on my supports to buy dust necessarily. Interesting. I just watched myself feed at 9 minutes.
Is that when you just took the tower?
Yeah, I took the tower and my supports were backing up. And I vividly remember this because I played this game yesterday or the day before. And I Oh god, it was just so dumb. Like I watched my supports leave and I knew I was in danger, but I was like, no, I'll be fine. And then of course I died immediately after because Zeus was on top of me with like a ton of magic damage, and it's just one of those stupid things where I knew I was doing something dumb, but I did it anyway, and I was just like, whatever. I took a tower, so I like it equals out. When in actuality, it's like I could have taken a tower and left and been farming somewhere and been fine, but instead I was like, whatever. I took a tower, so it's worth it.
There's nothing more frustrating, is there, than just being like, why did I do that? Why? Just...
Yeah. It's something like that I'm painfully aware of, and it's something Proud has pointed out in my play, where because I don't grind solo ranked and I play a lot of like not unranked games necessarily, because unranked games I still try my hardest in, but because I play so many party games where I'm just the highest MMR by a huge margin, I kind of have built in bad habits of my own where I just do stupid things thinking I can get out of the situation.
Okay, yeah.
And that's one of those. Or like I just resign myself to be like, if I die here, whatever. Whereas if I was playing more seriously, like when I play solo queue ranked, I would not would be playing more conservatively, right?
Yeah.
So that's just like a bad habit of mine where I was like, whatever, I'm going to die here, but, I got a tower, so it equals out and, whatever. And I bought out in that team fight. Like, I didn't lose any money. I still bought my Morphin mask, and I only had like a couple hundred gold left over. So you rationalize after the fact, and you're like, oh, man, it's actually okay. But it really wasn't okay. I was feeding. Okay, let's see. Any more questions?
So actually... how do you decide whether to go for a quell or a shield first? I noticed like you pretty much always go shield, right?
Yeah, I'm firmly in the camp that there's no reason, unless you're like a Dragon Knight mid or some hero that's not going to be building a poor man's shield. I would, even then, I never start a game with a quell. I think that's a terrible mistake that a lot of people do. There's no reason.
Definitely something that I do. Because, like, in my brain, I'm kind of like, well, if I get the quell first, then I'm more likely to get my last hits, which means I'm more likely to get more money for me to buy my shield. But then I'm just taking kind of like more damage and stuff, and actually it's kind of dumb.
Yeah, well, that frequently is the problem, right? I bought a shield. I bought a Quelling Blade at level 1. That way I'll have more money. But then you get zoned, and then you can't participate in the lane. Yeah. And then, who cares that you can get more money by farming? Because you actually can't, because you have no ability to stay in lane because you take 1,000 damage every time a Shadow Shaman right-clicks you. Yeah. Like, it's just impossible. So that's a common mistake. In general, I never start games with Quelling Blades unless I'm like mid lane and I have some weird matchup like Dragon Knight, I think. Dragon Knight sometimes will start gaming with Quell. In general, like this is honestly such terrible advice, but if you never have to have a Quelling Blade to get CS, right? Quelling Blade just makes it easier. The reason why you buy Quelling Blade is even if you're the perfect mechanical player, even if you're the, the AI bot that I can't remember the name of, even if you are the AI that has perfect CS, the Quelling Blade helps you farm creep camps, right? So like it's 13 minutes and I'm farming an ancient stack. I farm this way faster with my Quelling Blade just through virtue of dealing extra damage, especially being on Troll who has a high attack speed. But in lane, you don't really need a Quelling Blade because if you're just playing better, you can just get the CS anyway, right? The Quelling Blade just makes it so you're missing less CS, especially under tower. That's when it gets much more advantageous. But so you can delay the Quelling Blade, and that's why like some people just don't buy a Quelling Blade at all. But the Quelling Blade, once you're jungling and you're pushing out lanes and stuff like that, that's when you really take advantage of the farm speed, and that's when you make your money back, right? And similarly, if you're just bad mechanically, like I missed a bunch of last hits for no reason here just because I don't play that much Troll. And that Quelling Blade prevented me from missing those last hits in some cases because it gives you more like a cushion to say, all right, even though you only deal, this is a bad example because I do like 140 damage right now. But if you only deal 70 damage, right, you suddenly do 94 with a Quelling Blade. And that's way easier to last hit on, especially like last hitting a catapult when you're under tower, and then you're like, right, it's 3 hits from the tower plus 1 if I deal 100 damage, but it's 3 plus 2 if I deal 70 damage. And if I'm a CK and my attack range is 30 damage, suddenly, sometimes I'm not going to deal enough and I'm going to miss CS. So if you have a Coiling Blade, and Coiling Blade's only 100 gold of investment, right? Because you sell it back at the end. So if you get 3 last hits you were not going to get otherwise, you've already made your money back. So in general, I buy Quelling Blade every game, but I never buy it at the start.
Yeah.
Buying things that you can buy at the side shop at the start is like a classic terrible mistake. Just don't do it. Like, starting with Stout Shields, if you're a safe laner, no. Start with 2 Slippers and a bunch of regen. You buy the Stout Shield right away, right? You have access to the side shop. Unless you get aggro tried, and even then it's like, you just dealt a bad hand. Like, you're just miserable. That's just the life you lead now.
So yeah,
I would never start with a Quell.
Yeah, okay. That is...
Or hardly ever, I should say.
I will not do in the future.
It's very common. I see it very often, both in my pubs and watching my friends' games and watching in-houses and whatever. It's one of those things that just gets at me. I can't stand it. There's no reason to start a game if you're playing Troll Warlord with Stout and a Quell, or better yet, like if you're playing AM. I think in one of the in-houses this week, or it might have been a pub I was watching or something. Someone played AM and they started the game with the Quelling Blade and a Stout Shield and 1 set of tangos. Then they got aggroed on, and then, who cares about your tangos? You're just, who cares about your Quelling Blade? You're dead because you don't have a salve. You don't have a second set of tangos, right? You're starting off in a bad foot. So yeah, never start with Stout Quell unless you're like a mid laner, in which case sometimes that's excusable.
Okay, noted. I will not do that then.
Yeah, again, common mistake, and a lot of people think, oh, it's not that big a deal, I'll just ferry regen out, but it's like the butterfly effect, right? Like, you think, oh, I'll start with Quelling Blade and a Stout Shield because if I get pressured under a tower, I want to still be able to last hit. But if you do that, you're thinking, oh, that also, I'm going to be able to ferry out a salve, or I'm going to ferry out a second set of tangos, at 3 minutes. But then, 3 minutes comes around, you're against a bristleback, you've run through all your tangos, but your mid needs their bottle. And you can't get your second set of tangos or your whatever item you want to get regen. So suddenly you can't participate in the lane, and now you've just missed out on, let's say, 300 gold because you're forced under your tower, you can't last hit because you don't have health, and you're getting aggroed on. And suddenly you're way behind in lane, all because instead of just saving your money and buying it at the side shop and having extra regen, you went for the immediate satisfaction of having a Stout and a Quell and 1 set of tangos. And then you're just off in a wrong foot, or you steal the bottle, or you steal the courier from your mid laner. Again, a common horrible thing that people do, especially as a sometimes occasional mid player. Yeah. If you take that bottle and you take that courier, it's 2 minutes 45 seconds. You're like, oh man, I really need to finish my Aki and get a Stout and get a salve brought out because I'm low. Well, suddenly your mid laner doesn't get his or her bottle, and then your mid laner loses lane because the enemy Death Prophet got her bottle, but your mid Zeus didn't get his bottle, and she outdamaged him, pushed him in super hard, and then now she has a level advantage because she wave cleared. Now she's 6 before him. He has no wave clear because he has no mana. She takes his tower early. Yeah. Then they have map control, right? Like, all that butterfly effect has happened all because you started with a Stout Quelling Blade Tango, and then you try to steal the courier, and that your mid doesn't have his bottle. So like everything's ruined.
So even if I did get, a salve and a set of tangos, but I'm just having like a really bad lane, and I do need to, send out another set of tangos or whatever. When's a good... Or should I... Is that even a thing that happens? Like, I feel like that's something that... Okay, good.
Something that happens.
Okay, cool. Because I feel like I've definitely done that in the past, and I'm like, wait, am I doing a bad thing?
Oh, I've definitely... I would say if... I've gotten mad at so many people that I'm otherwise friends with because they steal my freaking courier. That's like, again, one of my ultimate pet peeves in Dota. If I'm observing, my ultimate pet peeve is people starting with Stout Quell. If I'm playing, my ultimate pet peeve is people stealing the courier at like 2 minutes and I don't get my bottle.
Yeah. So when is like an okay time? Basically, do you have to just keep eye on your mid and see if they have a bottle or not? And if they do, then it's fine for you to take the courier, and if not, don't take it.
So exactly. That's the exact right answer, right? If you are the safe lane and you want to finish your Aki so that you can push, or you need to get regen out, you need to get your Claymore on AM to finish your... God, I'm feeding so much of this game. I need to pause it. like ran out of Bloodseeker and just bashed him to death, but he had a blade mail on. And I remember vividly, I knew he had a blade mail on, and I knew I was killing myself, but I still just did it anyway. And then of course I died in this push. God, all right. But yeah, the right answer to that question is you pay attention to your mid and you say, all right, ballpark mid laners in general are getting their bottle around 2 to 3 minutes, right? As a general statement. Sometimes they'll get it faster, sometimes they'll get it slower, but that's a good general grand scheme of things. They're going to be getting it between 2 and 3 minutes. So if you want to use the courier at that junction, you should know that this person is going to need their bottle, unless of course they're like an invoker who doesn't build bottle, or like a viper that doesn't build bottle. But in general, if they're a quap, they're going to be buying bottle around 2 to 3 minutes. So you should be clicking on them. You say, all right, I need regen. Click on the mid first. Say, all right, they have their bottle. Great, perfect. I can use courier. They don't have their bottle yet. I should wait. You look at them. You say, all right, they have 600 gold. That means they're going to be getting their courier. They're going to be getting their bottle pretty soon. But if, they ferried out a second null, like is common nowadays, like let's say it's a puck. They ferry out a second null at like a minute 30. They are delaying their bottle. They only have 300 gold at the moment. Then you can use the courier because reasonably speaking, they will not have the bottle for at least a minute. And then you're not actually ruining anything for them. But again, like if they have 600 gold and they're going to need it, definitely don't use the courier. If you do use the courier and then you lose this game, the loss is entirely on
fault.
you.
Yeah.
I literally have lost games because people have taken my bottle. And then again, like it's butterfly effect, right?
Yeah.
Your mid doesn't have his or her bottle at the proper time. Their bottle gets delayed by like a minute and a half. Nobody upgrades the courier, which also means the bottle is even slower. The enemy mid has the bottle, right? It's like 3 minutes. Now think when the bottles are coming out, the 2-minute rune is already spawned, may or may not be gone, but the 4-minute rune is not spawned yet. The enemy mid gets his bottle at, let's say, 245 because they had full usage of the courier. Then this also applies, don't steal courier when your mid's getting his minute 0 salve, which again is mid privilege, but it's just a balance thing. Like this is just how Dota works. It's 245. The enemy mid is a quap. You're playing Death Prophet. The quap gets the bottle. They can spam out waves. They can push you under tower. They can harass you. Starting at 245, they have all this regen on top over you as the Death Prophet. Then it's 4 minutes. You still don't have your bottle. The quap has you under your tower. She has free reign to go over and get runes, whatever runes he or she wants. They have their bottle. That means they get a free rune because they pressured you, and they now have even more regen on top of you. You finally get your bottle, but the quap has dominated you for, give or take 2 minutes, maybe 2.5 minutes. And sure, you have your bottle now, but your lane is entirely lost, right? This quap is just manhandling you every which way because she got her bottle at the proper time because her safe laner did not steal courier, whereas yours did. So yeah, it's really like, and then, you've lost mid lane, which means potentially you'll lose the game because your tempo is set off poorly because you lost your mid lane. So yeah, it's a really big deal. Don't steal bottle, don't steal courier from your mid laner early. Steal it at the proper time. I mean, it's not really stealing at that point. Just delay.
Yeah,
that's just how Dota works.
I'm just now like it's just something I've never thought about before. Like this is the first time I've ever thought about. I wonder whether my mid will need bottle. Like this is the first, so I've 100% definitely stolen the courier of my mid before.
It's one of the few things that I do get mad at people when I'm playing in friendly 5 stacks. It's one of the things that I really try to ram home. I'm like, it's just unacceptable behavior, and it's one of those things where I just like I have to tell people when they do this because it's so easy to not think about it. Like you're just saying, like a lot of people don't think about it, but
I'm just thinking like
once somebody yells at you once, then you should remember. Like it's important.
I'm just thinking like we've played a couple of games together where you've been playing mid and I've been playing safe lane. I'm just like, have I done this to you? Like,
yeah, definitely have.
No.
And sometimes I'm just like I want to be nice to Beedub and I'm not going to do this, or I want to be nice to whoever's playing safe lane.
Oh,
and, like I just don't want to cause problems. But again, very frequently, like if this happens, depending on how the game's going, like sometimes you can figure your way out of it. Like if I'm already winning mid super hard and I don't have my bottle, then I can just equal out the lane, or like if I'm just better than the other person, I can figure it out. I can play more conservatively, whatever. But if I'm playing mid and I'm having a hard lane already and I don't get my bottle and the enemy mid is just like flaunting their bottle and all their extra regen at me, I'm like, somebody else on my team has literally lost my lane for me no matter how well I am playing.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing you can do when the enemy team just has a ton of regen and you don't. Like, fundamentally, if I'm playing Zeus and I have no mana and this person's playing Quap, I can be a 10 times better player than them, but I have no mana and they have 300 mana and they're going to be spamming whatever the heck they want at me. So, be very careful about Courier.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
I won't do it again, I promise.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see.
Maybe once or twice if I forget, but
yeah. I mean,
I don't
again,
know,
it's one of
I've
those
been
things
yelled
like,
at now, so
yeah. Don't worry. I won't forget. I'll know. And I'll be like, it's like reprimanding children, right? It's like, you tell them the first time and because they don't know that they're doing something wrong. But then if they know they're doing something wrong and they still do it, that's when you got to be like, all right, this is unacceptable, Jimmy. Like, you time out. So yeah, it's serious. Like, it really does. People think like, oh, it's not a big deal. You get your bottle a minute later. But if you get your bottle a minute later, like, your lane could be entirely lost. Like, It's a really big deal.
I'm someone who really rarely plays mid. So
yeah, a lot of people.
Something I've never thought about, but I will keep it in mind.
Yeah, everybody should, please, for the love of God.
So, moving on from that rant, I would say, yeah. So Troll's a hero that usually takes Rosh quite early, right?
Yes, another reason why I picked this hero in this game.
Yeah, so I noticed you took it around 12 minutes. Is that standard? Like, is that kind of, or that seems quite early to me, but I was kind of like, don't, this is something that stops me from playing heroes like Ursa and Troll, just because I actually don't know really when I should be going to take Rosh, and I know that's like something that they do, but I just have no idea about it.
Yeah, it's actually something that I'm quite bad about because I don't play a lot of heroes that are big Rosh heroes.
Okay.
Troll, one of the big reasons why I picked Troll in this game was they picked Ursa. I don't remember, maybe they picked Ursa after I picked Troll, which kind of would nullify at this point. But regardless, if the enemy team has an Ursa, they're going to be focusing on Rosh around that, 12-minute mark in general. Ursa, Rosh is usually like a really good Ursa. Rosh is around, I think, like 8. But even a bad Ursa should be Roshing between like 10 minutes and 15 to 16 minutes, right? Okay. Whenever you have your window, depending on how the tempo is going. So if you're playing Troll, you should know to look out for that. And that's what happened in this game. I didn't even kill Rosh. I killed Rosh at like 12 minutes, or let's see. It's 11 minutes and Ursa just died to Rosh. So I immediately make a beeline right there, right? Mm-hmm. I'm bottom at 11:07. I just took tier 1 recently, or rather I'm at the dead tier 1. I take one creep stack because I know it's going to take a little bit for my teammates to get to the Rosh. Then I'm just going straight to Rosh. Honestly, I could have just gone straight to Rosh and skipped this creep camp that I did, which probably would have been better, but didn't make a huge difference because I still got there in time. But yeah, so I go to Rosh. My people are taking mid tower with the DK who has dragon form. And the Roshan, Rosh is at, math, like 30%. We actually wait, and the Ursa goes back into Roshan, which we know he's going to do, which puts him in a bad position, and he almost dies here because of that. So then I'm able to just go back into Rosh. I don't have to do any of the work for this, right? Because Ursa did the vast majority of the work. And I go into Rosh Pit, I take it, my supports are there. Shroll is quite good at Rosh, but he doesn't normally solo Rosh as well as other heroes unless you either get a DD rune, kind of like a TA, or you have a particularly good, setup of items. I don't know the specific items. Somebody that spams Troll would be able to say the exact items that are necessary. But yeah, so taking around 12 is, I did it as an opportunistic play that, it was an opportunity that I made myself. Right, it's not just like a random thing that happened. I knew that they had an Ursa. I knew that he was going to Rosh around this point. So you keep it in your mind and you say, all right, I'm playing Troll. I can do this whenever he's done with it. Or I'm playing TA. Similarly, a lot of heroes are good at Rosh. So I'm setting myself up for this play just from the draft screen by picking Troll. and then I'm able to rosh because of that, basically. This is also why you on Troll max out Fervor as your first maxed ability. It's because it allows you to farm fast and allows you to rosh if the occasion calls for it.
Okay.
If there was not an Ursa in this game, I probably would not have roshed for at least like maybe 5 minutes. But I think a good Troll player would probably rosh still around like 14-ish, regardless of that. I don't know the tempo of Troll roshing as well as Troll spammers might.
Okay.
If you had a DD rune, that's probably when I would rosh. I would say, all right, I just got an opportunity. I picked up a DD rune, or I got like the DK to come with me and kill rosh, or I got Ursa. Or I got like the Legion or whatever. But solo roshing, I'm not quite as good at. But the heyday of Troll when he used the solo rosh was back when Quelling Blade affected Roshan.
Right.
Which meant that you were dealing, thousands of extra damage to rosh cumulatively because you have a fast attack speed and you get 24 plus damage on every hit against rosh. But obviously that doesn't work anymore. So that's back when like Troll was super OP. Now he's just like a good hero. He's definitely not OP at the moment.
Okay. So like let's say the Ursa didn't go and try and take rosh, and you still so when you took the tower, do you think like that is that like the good opportunity to go and do it? Like you've taken the tower early, and then would you then go rosh? I don't know. Like
I would probably wait until, like I said, I would wait until either I had a good rune like a DD, or I had my team group up with me, and then I can rosh with like Troll +1, like a Troll plus a DK, or Troll plus LC, or like, because I got pretty low even when I was just roshing. Also, I only had a Morbid Mask. If I had a Mask of Madness, I might rosh a little more or a little faster, but. Again, I'm not sure the exact tempo of how to rosh, like damage-wise. I'd honestly have to test it. Because I think like if you go Vlad's, you're able to rosh pretty early, but that means you're not going Mask of Madness. And Mask of Madness is a big farming item and pushing item for Troll. So honestly, I would not be able to give an exact time frame. It would not be intellectually honest of me to give misinformation.
That's fair enough.
So yeah, but it's something to keep in mind at the very least. Like you want to keep in mind, I can rosh, therefore we should abuse that, especially against an enemy team that can't rosh, right? Like they have an Ursa, so it forces me to Roshan. But if they have a team that absolutely can't rosh, then we have a much easier game to say, all right, we can rosh basically whenever we want.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the gist with Roshan.
Okay.
Again, like. The reason why I don't play Ursa is for the exact reason you stated, right? I'm just not a good rosh player when it comes to things like that. So I usually don't play Ursa because I know I'm not going to rosh at the optimal time. Also, I just don't play Ursa because like he just does not fit my play style. Similar to why I rarely play Axe.
Okay. Something to keep in mind.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I actually think
Next
that was actually all the questions I had for you for the game I watched.
Oh, I'm glad. It was a fun game. Like it was funny because I was kind of struggling to find, not struggling, but I don't play that much safe lane carry. And so I was like, oh, what was a good safe lane carry game I had played recently? Because you wanted to focus on carry, and this was a good game because I did a lot of bad things and just like wrong things that were very noticeable. Like, obviously, you were watching this VOD from your perspective, but I've been rewatching this VOD the entire time we've been recording. Yeah. And, the cardinal advice everybody always gives to people that are like, oh, I want to get better at Dota is to watch your own replays. Me watching this replay, like, I've noticed so many bad things that I did, both bad things that I knew I was doing at the time of playing the game, and now things that I ignored completely. Like, there were just, there was one fight that I took by Roshan. It was actually right after I killed Rosh because they tried to get in on the Roshan and they and they staged a fight. I tried to chase down a Weaver, but there was a Bloodseeker that I didn't notice that was behind me, and I could have killed the Bloodseeker with the DK. The Bloodseeker ended up getting away with like 180 health. But instead, I tried to chase down a Weaver and save a Witch Doctor. But the Witch Doctor was guaranteed to die. So I just completely wasted my time. I didn't kill the Bloodseeker. I didn't save the Witch Doctor, and I didn't kill the Weaver. So like that was a really objectively just bad play on my part. And that was just me not having good coordination with my teammates and me just not seeing that my DK was fighting a Bloodseeker and was not going to be able to kill him.
Yeah.
Because the DK didn't have enough mana and stuff like that. So
everybody
should watch their own replays.
Yeah. Like, that's a really difficult thing to try and do, though, to like kind of coordinate with like strangers on the internet, and there's a massive team fight going on, and like I miss stuff all the time, and like I don't know, it's just so tough. Like you kind of get this fog of, I don't know, brain fog, I don't know, when you're having like a team fight and everything's
it's
just
tunnel vision.
And everything's just kind of crazy and you're not really sure who you're supposed to be really going for. I always find that really difficult. And then sometimes I'll kind of like deal a load of damage to quite a few people, but then not actually kill any of them. Because I'm like, I should switch my target to this person, and then...
Yeah, it is just, like, a lot of it's game sense, and it's always, like, there's bits of advice that we talk about that are just not that productive, like me just saying, hey, just CS better, and then you don't need a playing plate. Like, that's not productive advice on a podcast, but they're in, like, game sense, right? People always hear, like, oh, man, how do I do X? It's like, well, you just need the game sense. Like, that's very, like... metaphysical, you know, what the heck is game sense? How do I get game sense? Like, well, then you have to play thousands of games of Dota. Like, that's not fun advice to be given, but it really is true. Like in that fight, I just was not paying enough attention, and I was not using my camera. I was not getting the necessary information that would have provided me. I was not giving myself the opportunity to kill the Bloodseeker because my game sense was not there, right? I was not thinking, oh, my DK is going to have low mana because this fight's been going on for 2 minutes and he started it without a rune because I took the rune and like all these little things.
Yeah.
So then I lost out on that kill. And in this game, obviously it wasn't like the deal breaker, but in some games it would be the deal breaker. It'd be like, all right, like if this was 60 minutes and I make that bad play, bad call, then, you know, I lost the entire game because I just didn't have good game sense. And then the next game, I'm going to think about that. So, it's a lot of little things.
It just comes with kind of like practice, and the more you play it. I think like I'm still like, I mean, pretty much up until like I decided, you know, I want to start playing carry. I was exclusively playing support. And so I still have this kind of like fear of going in and actually trying to get a kill because I'm like, oh no, I might die. Because obviously I've been playing is kind of pretty much squishy supports. And
heroes that die.
Yeah, like heroes that die a ton. And so I always find that's really difficult as well. But like my game sense is okay in terms of me like potentially getting ganked. Just because I have been killed so many times as a support. But like I think it will stop me from going in and being like a bit more aggressive. Just because I'm so used to just being killed off as a support. But I think that just takes time and kind of like... get my brain around. Like actually in the game I played earlier with PA, even though it wasn't a great game, I did have a couple of moments in there where I killed a bunch of people with like not that many hits, and I was like, oh, actually I forget PA does like a ton of damage. Like just like 2 hitting like the Nature's Prophet, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a thing that I can do. Nice. But it's just like I would go in there and try it out and expect not to kill them, but then I was kind of like pleasantly surprised that I actually did.
Yeah. I mean, it is, you know, the unfortunate reality of Dota is that everything just takes time. Yeah. And it really is just, you have to make the same mistake 10 times to then realize that you're making it, and then fix it later. So a lot of it is just, you know, you need to play Troll 20 times, and maybe the first 19 you don't steal Roche, but then the 20th, you know, you steal a Roche from an Ursa and it clicks and you say, oh man, of course Ursa is going to be Roshing because it's 13 minutes. Like, that's what he does. And then, you know, your next Troll game, you have that exact same thing in mind, and then suddenly, you know, you're getting Roshans every game because you're just adjusted to that tempo, and you finally realize that mistake you were making before. So yeah, I mean, it takes time, but it's Dota, right? Like, we play it because we have no lives and we want to spend thousands and thousands of hours.
Hey, I have a life.
Yeah, theoretically I have a life as well, but
I'm just kidding.
Not,
I
don't.
I don't. I was just...
Yeah, Dota kind of, it's hard to have a life and be good at Dota. And it's hard to have a life and be bad at Dota also. Like, yeah,
that's my current situation.
Yeah, everybody's bad at Dota, just to varying degrees. I mean, that's good at Dota is like, if you're below 7K, you're probably not good at Dota. You're just some varying degree of Dota. Like, I'm bad at Dota, but you know, it takes a bigger man to realize that they're bad at something and then get better, right?
Why do we play this game again?
Yeah. So there's probably a better, more gender neutral version than Be the Better Man, but you know, whatever. Yeah. So yeah, any closing questions, closing thoughts before we close out?
No closing questions.
Did you
I guess,
like this format?
Yeah, I thought this was really helpful because it was great to kind of like I've watched my own replays and been like, oh, that's really dumb, but like I think you can only learn so much about watching yourself. Like you can watch things that like don't do that again, but you're not necessarily kind of going, oh, actually I should be doing this. You're not necessarily kind of watching someone else at a higher level doing something that you're trying to do just kind of puts new ideas in your head and just kind of gives you like a different perspective, I guess. So yeah, I really liked this format. I thought it was super helpful. I'm
glad. So did you watch it entirely in player perspective?
I did,
or mostly in player perspective? What do you think about that? Because like I do both whenever I'm studying players and trying to learn something. I do it like half in player perspective and half. Actually, I would say usually like 75 to 80% in player perspective. Some people I just can't watch their player perspective because they're just too like hectic. Yeah. Like Saksa, the support player. I don't know what team he's on right now. I can't watch his player perspective because he's just like constantly flipping around, and it's just like it's like a multi-sensory experience that I can't handle.
It makes me realize that I do not look around the map enough. As when watching super high level players, I'm like, how do you do that? I don't understand how they move and look at like somewhere else on the map and then go back and forth and back and forth. It's just like it's amazing. I have no idea how they do it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can set camera hotkeys for the map that like you can basically section parts of the map and have a hotkey that will just, you know, go to the top rune or go to the bottom rune.
I used to have that actually. I used to have it on my mouse. I've got like 2 mouse buttons on the side, and I used to have the top mouse button as the top rune and the bottom one as the bottom rune. But in the end, I decided that was much more useful for items, and I haven't done it for ages.
Yeah, I honestly don't use that feature. I know I probably should, but I'm just like, I manually just click around. Like I have pretty fast like mouse settings, and I just click around, and it's usually fine. But yeah, so that's one of the ways people move super fast. But I would highly recommend watching games in player perspective. If you're watching other people's games, it really does give you insight that you would not think about. Because I know a lot of people don't do that. And like that's one of the advantages of watching streamers is you see their player perspective and you say, all right, when he's playing mid lane is looking at all these places, and I don't do that when I play mid lane, so I need to fix that. So try doing that.
I watched a little bit from. There was a couple of moments where I did watch it from the Weaver's perspective, because there was one moment where I was like, how did you not die there? It was kind of like you were like extremely low, and the Weaver had more health than you. And
yes, I remember that fight.
And I was like, why and how did you not die? But he just kind of like, you know, just invised off. He ran away. He ran away, and I was like, oh, interesting.
Yeah, I don't remember how much mana.
He probably could have turned around, I guess. But then I guess like you hit pretty hard, so it might have been
I think he just didn't want to chance it.
Yeah.
Also, fighting against a troll or any other hero that has a basher is always just awkward, because it's like, I don't know if this person's going to bash me. Like, if they get a lucky bash, suddenly I'm dead, and then my whole lane is ruined because I died once.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got to be careful about stuff like that. I'm sure that was the Weaver's train of thought. Also, I kind of flexed on the Weaver and like made it look like I was going to fight into him, because I didn't want the Weaver to fight me. So, because like he's way faster than me, right?
Yeah.
So I knew if he was gonna come and kill me, I was gonna die, right? But so instead I just like manned up on the Weaver, and then he kind of took it as, oh, maybe he has a support coming, or oh, maybe he's just like gonna kill me, and it puts him on the back foot rather than him chasing me down, which he totally could have done, because I didn't have enough mana for a TP, and I had like 80 health. Or I had a little more than 80 health. I had like, let's say 150 health. So he just kind of got like intimidated, I want to say, and didn't pull the trigger and try to kill me. So Yeah, that was a weird situation to be in. And it's just kind of like you resign yourself. You're like, I'm probably going to die here, but if I don't, that'd be nice. And then it turns out I didn't die. And it was fine.
It worked, right?
All right, let's see. So hopefully we'll do this concept in future weeks because it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's see, homework. Part of me, okay, for homework, I think you should watch a few replays in player perspective from different players. I would say, like, obviously it would be kind of narcissistic to say watch a bunch of my replays, but Proud's replays, I would say, just like as a simple baseline, try watching, and also because you can talk about this next week. I mean, I don't know if you're gonna be on next week, but you can talk about this in the future with Proud. Try watching a few of his replays on heroes that you're interested in that he plays. Yeah. And even like vary it a bit more and like watch a few like high MMR replays, 6K, 7K replays, and just kind of get a taste of watching what players are doing that you're not doing, and try to incorporate those things into your game. So yeah, homework's easier this week. You just gotta watch stuff.
Nice. Well, that's super easy.
You can even watch things in 2 times speed. That's something that I do. Sometimes if I'm like not really committed to something, I'll just watch it in 2 times speed just to get the broad strokes rather than agonizing over every little detail.
Where would you say like the best place for me to find like? I know, like, isn't there a place where you could? Yeah, isn't there? Did they do it on? Did they do it on Dota Buff? Did they do it on Dota
so
Buff?
Whenever I am playing either a hero I'm unfamiliar with or I'm focusing on a hero and getting better at them, I go to Dota Buff, and if you click on a hero, let's go to Troll. Under Troll, once you click on the hero, there's a guide section. So it's like dotabuff.com/heroes/troll warlords/guides. That guide section shows you recent games like from the last few days, and they are all just like organized over 4 pages. So 4 pages, let's see, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 20 games, and they're all like 6K plus. Usually they're like 7K plus. And you can even like just scroll through those, and they have, it shows all their starting items, it shows all that. Then once you click through that, you can find the exact match ID, and then just look that up in Dota and download it.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
And so that's a good place to start.
Nice.
Otherwise, like, again, like if anybody listener wise, like if you have high MMR friends, if you have high MMR friends, watch one of their games and say, all right, this person is, 4K and they spam a ton of Invoker. I'm trying to learn Invoker. I'm going to just watch them play Invoker for like half an hour.
Yeah.
And it really accelerates your learning. Like I always say, you'll learn a lot more from spending 45 minutes watching 3 replays than from playing one 45-minute game that may or may not be productive, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, try and watch some replays from player perspective of players that are better than you at a given hero.
Okay. Yeah,
and I wouldn't like better than you by a large margin. I would say like if you're 3K and you're watching like your 3,500 friend play a hero that you both play, like you're probably not going to learn that much because you're probably both making a ton of mistakes. But if you're 3K, you might want to watch like maybe like a 4K friend or a 4,500 friend or like a 6K friend or whatever, or a 6K random person. So try that out. That should be fun.
I've actually never been on this Dota Buff guides kind of section. This is really useful because like at the moment the way I kind of watch people playing is either on a stream where you don't get to choose, or I just type in like in the watch kind of section you can type in the hero and see what's currently live, but like I miss out on the beginning, which is the stuff I want to watch the most. I want to watch the laning part the most because that's the stuff I struggle the most with. So I'll kind of have to go through a load of games and be like, oh, they're just kind of starting, but I'll still miss the beginning part. So this will be really helpful.
Yeah, Proud is a big advocate of the watch live section. I watch a lot of games live, but that's just when I'm like in queue or if I'm just trying to kill time. Yeah. I'll just click on a random like 7,500 MR game and just see like, oh, what are people doing? But yeah, in my opinion, Dota Buff is a wonderful service. The guide section is the best thing on the entire website. So highly recommend that. If you're ever wanting to learn how to play any hero, just click on Dota Buff, click on the hero, go to guides, it's the second tab, and see like, oh, hey, every single person on Troll is building phase boots. I should probably build phase boots, not treads. Like even just the fastest stuff like that. Like you will learn so much more from clicking that and saying, oh, you know, everybody's doing X on Y hero. Like, all right, I should be doing that too. And it lets you figure out information. Like, it's just great. So yeah, do that when you're trying to learn a new hero, or even a hero that you're good at. Just look it up. Like, hey, I play a ton of Invoker, but I keep losing games. What are people that are winning games on Invoker doing? And then, you know, you learn that, you know, X 7K player is building Medallion, and that's really good. Like, all right, great, I'm going to start doing that. So yeah, highly recommend.
Nice.
All right, so this has been Teach Me Tuesdays. Hopefully we've all learned a little bit about Troll Warlord, a little bit about Safe Lane Carry, a little bit about ourselves, a little bit about just about everything. This has been myself, Ursinity, and my co-host Beedub. Thanks for listening, and thanks for co-hosting, Beedub. This was fun. We haven't done any of these one-on-one teaching things yet, so
yeah, hopefully we'll do more. This is really fun.
So yeah, goodbye everybody. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you. Let's see, on Thursday for Theorycraft Thursday. And if you listen to the Patreon episode, Cyphus and I just did one of those. Patreon.com/patience. And I'm not going to do the rest of the plugs because we don't need to. So yeah, thanks for listening. Goodbye everybody.